Greetings, my peeps. Welcome to the All Things Basketball Podcast with your boy GD. In this episode, trade deadline recap. We'll go through all the trades. I talked about some. I may revisit a couple of those, but I'll talk about the other trades that went down. And also, guys, All-Star weekend will be upon us soon. So I give you a preview of all that's going on. So all that and more. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, guys, it's your boy GD back with the All Things Basketball with GD podcast. And guys, we are in the midst of week 17. So, of course, I'll have a week 16 recap. But first, I wanted to talk about the trade deadline and all the moves that went down. And a couple of teams, you're like scratching your head. What are they even thinking? And other teams made fantastic moves. So there's that. Also, All-Star Weekend preview. I'll give you all the lowdown as far as that goes, all the participants and all the things there. So without any further delay, let's get right into it. So we are going to do the trade deadline recap. Now, guys, at the top of the news, no Giannis trade and no Ja Morant trade. So, a lot of talk was being said. Oh, Giannis went it out. But here's the problem. First of all, you have the calf injury that's lingering over the whole situation. So there's that. And a lot of people are leery these days when it comes to the calf injury. Because if you press the calf injury, it leads to injuries lower than the calf. A lot of times, torn ACLs, ankles, all the things. So you have that specter above everything. And then the fact that, Milwaukee's going to want something significant because he's, of all the people that were traded, he's probably the number one, the big fish out of all the players traded. So I told you guys, I didn't think he would be moved. I didn't think Ja Morant would be moved. And the thing with Ja Morant was Memphis Grizzlies teams wanted them to include a first-round pick along with him. They understand the risk in taking this guy. That's how far his value has plummeted. So any trade that was out there, teams wanted pretty much a guarantee. They wanted to attach draft capital to Ja Morant. And Memphis, they're selling everything. Everything must go, especially, with them trading Jaren Jackson Jr. So, so there was nothing out there. So both players remain with their teams. Both players, I imagine, will come back in this second half. Well, after the All-Star break. So, yeah, but very tenuous situations with those teams there. But I fully expect these guys to be on the move come the off season after the 2025-26 season. So, but no trade available for them at the deadline. So let's get that out of the way. And then I did want to revisit a couple of trades that went down. The Vucevic, I'll hold for the moment. But James Harden, I told you guys I played with the Dallas Mavericks analyst, Brian Damaris, what he had to say. But as I was listening to folks, I heard a total takedown by Nick Wright. I mean, you couldn't say it any better as far as what he had to say about James Harden. In fact, I'm going to play that. So give me 1 second, guys, and I will play for you the sound. So this is Nick Wright on First Things First, talking about James Harden and his history. Okay, hold on 1 second.
On teams and folding. I would not trade Darius Garland for James Harden under any circumstances. All this guy does is quit on teams and fold in the playoffs. For a decade, when Brew and I first did any TV together, when this show first started, 2017, 2018, I argued he's the best player ever without a ring. And his all-NBAs, his MVP finishes, scoring title, assist title, 36 a game, 34 a game in the regular season, that put him next to Karl Malone or Elgin or any of those guys, and eventually he'll get there. And since I started making that argument, he's quit on 4 teams and folded in 6 playoff series. A quick reminder, folks. He went to Houston. He got Dwight Howard. Didn't quite work. Got Chris Paul. That could have worked. They got a little unlucky with Chris's hamstring. He then wanted Chris out. They mortgage all the picks to bring in Russell Westbrook. That seems like it's working. Game 4 against the Lakers, 2 for 11, season over, series over, and then James Harden's in a fat suit demanding a trade. Plays 2 games, quits on the court, they send him to Brooklyn. It's scary hours time. That team can win. Kyrie turns his ankle, he hurts his hamstring, comes back for game 5, 1 for 10. Game 7 against Milwaukee, 5 for 17. Early next season, quits again. Daryl saves him, brings him to Philly. That first playoff series, they have a game 6 at home. Goes 4 for 16, a 3 for 11 in game 7. And then he goes to China and it's like to a bunch of kids on an Adidas tour. He's like, I want to make a statement. Daryl Morey's a liar and I'll never play for his team again. The Clippers trade for him. His first year with the Clippers in the playoffs. He goes 2 for 12 and then 5 for 16 in games 5 and 6. The Clippers swallow it. Then last year, in game 7, goes 2 for 8, and they give him an extension. And the team is finally winning this year, months after the extension. He doesn't show up for work in Phoenix, goes to an Arizona State basketball game 10 minutes from where his team is playing basketball. They call it personal reasons, and he demands a trade. This guy's, you can't win with this guy. He's an all-time great player and an all-time great quitter and an all-time great choker. That is what his NBA legacy is.
So, Nick Wright, don't hold back any. I mean, he laid out his whole resume there. Again, he's going to Cleveland. He's saying all the right things, but after a period of time, he gets restless. He gets frustrated, and then he wants out. So, he said 4 teams that he quit on. So it's not a good track record. But, he has the outstanding numbers if you look at him, but his track record, not so good. But what I'll say is, the Clippers can come out of this smelling like a rose if Darius Garland is healthy. I think let me not say that. I think he can distribute the ball just as good as James Harden. I think he could be an offensive threat. He had to curtail it a bit because he had Donovan Mitchell by his side. So I think here he can find his offense more in LA. So, I think if the Clippers play the cards right, this could be a very fine deal for them. But it all depends on Garland's health. So as far as the Cavaliers, it remains to be seen. I'm not convinced that the addition of Harden is going to bump them up in the standings. It's going to, have them leap over teams like my Knicks, the Boston Celtics, the Detroit Pistons, And dare I say, I don't even think the Sixers at this time. The Sixers are playing fantastic basketball, even with the loss of Paul George. So, you're gonna tell me they're gonna surpass those teams? I don't know if they do. So I could be wrong on this, but we'll see what happens. All right, guys. So let's talk about the trades, the other trades that went down. We're gonna start on February 4th. And I couldn't believe this trade went through, but Anthony Davis, he got traded. I was surprised. I gotta say I was surprised, guys. Traded to the Washington Wizards, along with Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, who might be bought out because he's not thrilled about going to Washington. So, and Dante Exum. And listen what Dallas gets in return. Chris Middleton, who's, he's long in the tooth, guys. AJ Johnson, sort of a swingman, a guard, 6'5". Well, Malachi Branham, who's bounced around a bit over the past year or so. Guard, 6'4". And then Marvin Bagley, who, he's on his 5th team now, guys. He was drafted in 2018, 3rd pick overall. And he's done some bouncing around, guys, for a guy that picked that high, 15. When he plays, he's fine, but he gets hurt a lot. So that's what you got in return for Anthony Davis. Mind you, Anthony Davis came with 3 other players. So how the mighty has fallen. And now you have Anthony Davis on the books for 2 more years at $111 million, with one of those years being a player option. So, and then also remember, this is a team that's trying to tank. Let us be clear. They still have yet to play Trae Young, who they traded for. Supposedly, they have this grand idea of next year having their marquee players be Anthony Davis and Trae Young. How will that work? These are the guys, when they play, they can get their numbers, but can they elevate a team to the next level? Both of these guys. And I think that remains to be seen, guys. I think that remains to be seen. So, hey, Washington has nothing to lose. They're rolling the dice here. So will it shake out? We'll see. Dallas, they're just trying to get contracts that they can move easily, expiring contracts, so they can make moves and build around Cooper Flag. Remember, Kyrie is still on the books. He has yet to play this season. So Dallas is pretty much in a rebuild. So there you have it. All right, guys. So that was that trade. And here's one that surprised me. Oklahoma City Thunder getting Jared McCain, guys. Now, remember last season, while playing for the Philadelphia 76ers, he was a possible Rookie of the Year candidate. That's how well the guy was playing. But then he tears his meniscus and he's out for the year. And then this season, he starts with a thumb injury that he suffers in September. So he misses time, to start the season. So Philly gives up on him, Right now, you got Maxey there. You got the young kid, VJ Edgecombe, who looks like a solid contributor. So they said, you know what? And they still got Quentin Grimes. So McCain was expendable. So they sent him to OKC. And they get a return, guys. And I was surprised by this haul. They get a 2026 first-round pick that belongs to Houston. a 2027 second round pick, the best out of these four teams. You know, it's basically the best record. The best as far as what they can take advantage of. OKC, the Houston Rockets, the Indiana Pacers, and the Miami Heat. So that's how that shakes out. And then they get two 2028 second round picks from OKC and from Milwaukee. So that's quite a haul for this young man. But, OKC, they could take a flyer on him. He's a guard, 6'3", so he's a combo guard. But, he's more shooting guard than anything. But, yeah, and you throw him in the stable with all those other players over there, all those solid contributors. He's in a good, solid system there, ran by Mark Daigneault. I think this is a fine pickup for them. Some people say, "Oh, look at the draft capital you gave up." If this kid is right, man, you just swallow it as far as those draft picks go. So that's what I'll say about that. But Garrett McCain, now a Oklahoma City Thunder. So there you go. Let us continue. The Chicago Bulls, they were active, man. I already told you about Nikola Vucevic going to Boston, but Chicago wasn't done, guys. They acquire Colin Sexton. He's a guard. He can play either guard position. Forward, Ousmane Dieng, a 6'9" forward. And then they got draft picks. 2029 second round pick, the least from Denver or the Charlotte Hornets. And then they got two 2031 second round picks, one from the Knicks and one from the Nuggets. Charlotte, who gave up some of those players, they get Mike Conley, Kobe White, and a 2029 second round pick, the best out of the Hawks and the Heat. And then OKC was involved. It was a 3-team deal. They got Mason Plumlee, who they quickly waived. So Mason Plumlee is now a free agent. And, I believe he just cleared waivers. So he can go anywhere he wants. So there you go. But surprising move. Chicago moving on from Kobe White, a player who, he's able to light it up in a hurry. They moved on from him. Kind of surprising, but it is what it is. And Mike Conley, I don't think he stays in Charlotte. I think possibly they'll buy him out and he can go back. Supposedly, rumor has it, he wants to go back to the Timberwolves. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah. So that was that deal. Chris Paul finally on the move. The Clippers sent him to the Toronto Raptors, guys. They sent him to Toronto. Brooklyn is also involved in this deal. They get Ochai Agbaji. He's a guard, 6'5". And then the Clippers, they get the draft rights to Vaja Markovic from Serbia. He is a 29-year-old guy, guys. He's 6'6". He was drafted in 2019 with the last pick in the draft. He has yet to play in the NBA, guys. So this is a guy who, kind of reminds me of the Knicks when they drafted Pablo Prigioni. Kind of reminds me of that. So he's a guy. Will he ever come over and play for the NBA? Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, so that was the deal. So they shipped Chris Paul off I don't think he sees a game in uniform as a Toronto Raptor. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. So, do they buy him out? We'll see. But again, I just don't see it happening. So, is what it is. What can you do? All right, next deal. Number 3 team deal, guys. Jock Landale, guys. He's on the move now. And he goes to Atlanta. He goes to Atlanta. Mind you, I believe he was traded prior to that. Let me get my notes and make sure before I tell you guys. Yeah. He was part of the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. So now Utah flips him, sends him to Utah. I mean, sends him to Atlanta, and Utah in return they get Lonzo Ball and cash considerations. So will they play Lonzo Ball? I don't know if they do. Maybe they do. I don't know. And then Cleveland, they get 2 second-round picks to be announced. You know, we don't know for what year and what teams or what have you. So there you go. But Jock Landale, and now that you don't have a Kristaps Porzingis, a guy like Onyeka Okongwu is going to need some backup. So a guy like Jock Landale fills the bill. So there you go there. Next move. Tyus Jones, guys. He's on the move now, going to Charlotte. He goes to Charlotte along with a 2027 second-round pick. Is actually the least from Boston and Orlando. And Orlando, they get cash considerations back. So they basically send Tyus Jones on his way to Charlotte, a place where, they could probably use him as, backup point guard, especially since they'll probably buy out Connolly. So Tyus Jones on the move, guys. Speaking of Kristaps Porzingis, I kind of put the cart before the horse there, but he's gone, guys. Atlanta moves on from Kristaps Porzingis, sends him to Golden State in return for Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield, guys. Supposedly, I hear they're going to buy out Buddy Hield. We'll see. So Jonathan Kuminga gets his wish, and he goes to Atlanta. Atlanta team that, could very much use him, guys. So, but as of now, he's out for a week. He has that bulky knee, so they're going to be very cautious. Atlanta is so, but Jonathan Kuminga now gets his chance to shine, guys. He's playing with an all-star in Jalen Johnson. You got guys over there like a Dyson Daniels, a CJ McCollum, a Okongwu I just mentioned. So it's possible for him to get some run, So, hey, Jonathan, time to show and prove now. Once you get healthy, show them what you got. So what we'll see from him, we'll see. Now, as far as Golden State goes, you get a Kristaps Porzingis, a guy who's won a championship with the Celtics. How he plays next to a Draymond Green who can now sleep pleasant at night. I know he's saying he was sleeping pleasant anyway, but I'm sure he wasn't. Not with all that Giannis talk. So how he plays next to a Draymond Green, we'll see what happens. He's a stretch 5, so you can probably slide Draymond to the 4. So should make for interesting moves there for Steve Kerr. But Kristaps Porzingis, I don't think this moves the needle as far as all this concern with Golden State. But yeah, we'll see. He's on the mend right now. KP is, so we'll see what happens there. All right, let us move on. Speaking of Golden State, Trace Jackson Davis sent to Toronto, guys. And Golden State, in return, they get a 2026 second round pick that actually belongs to the Lakers. Now, Trace Jackson Davis is a guy who Toronto actually really needs because Jakob Poeltl is still out. He doesn't have a timetable. I would think after the All-Star break, but I can't even say with a great deal of certainty. So he goes to Toronto. He should be able to get some run over there. He's a big who can run the floor, can do all those things. So it will be very interesting, guys. Very interesting what takes place for Trace Jackson Davis. A guy who I think, given playing time, he could do a little something. So we'll see there. But that's the deal as far as Golden State. Now this next one, this one here actually is going to trigger a later move, but the Knicks did it. They got rid of Gershon Yabusele, guys. They sent him packing to Chicago Bulls in exchange for Dallin Terry, a guard. So, the marriage between him and the Knicks didn't work. He came in. He was kind of doughy. I'll use that terminology. He was kind of doughy, but it just seemed that they weren't able to make things work. So the Knicks had him, as a player they would trade. So they found a trade partner in Chicago. So Chicago gets him, and Knicks now get Dallin Terry. But hold your phone for 1 minute there. So that was at the end of the evening on February 4th. Let's transition to the 5th, which is the last day of the deadline. Oya Dosunmu. He finally goes on the move, guys. There was a lot of rumors about him being dealt, and lo and behold, he goes to the Timberwolves, guys. And a move where I think it could work out because he's a guy who can play both guard positions. He can play it two-way, guys. So he's somebody that, like I said, to me, the Giannis stuff didn't make sense. You need more. You needed this guy more than you needed a Giannis because you needed guard help. So I think this is a brilliant move for the Timberwolves. Now, in exchange, Chicago gets Rob Dillingham, who they tried to have as the heir apparent to Mike Conley. It didn't work out. So he goes to Chicago. Leonard Miller, a 6'10 forward/center. He goes in the deal as well. And draft picks. 2026 second rounder, the lease out of Denver and Golden State. Then 2027 second round pick from Cleveland. 2031 second round pick, the best out of Minnesota and Golden State. And then 2032 second round, best out of Phoenix and Houston. So there you go there. So Chicago bringing in yet another guard. But I'll talk about that in a minute. So anyhow, let us continue. Lakers get some 3-point shooting help, which they needed desperately, guys. Luke Kennard goes to the Lakers, guys. Remember, Luke Kennard just got dealt to Atlanta. He just got dealt to Atlanta, guys. So now Atlanta flips him to the Lakers, and they get Gabe Vincent and a 2032 second rounder. that belongs to the Lakers. So Luke Kennard, like I said, he can certainly help the Lakers, man. They needed some long distance shooting, and he can provide that. Somehow the bloomers off the rose between them and Dalton Connect. I'm not sure what the deal with that was. I thought actually he would be on the move at the deadline, but that wasn't to be. But Luke Kennard, now a Los Angeles Laker. So there you go there. Let us continue. Memphis wasn't done, guys. They acquire Eric Gordon, and they also get a 2032 pick swap, a second round pick swap. There'll be a pick swap between them and the Sixers, in fact. And the Sixers, in return, they get a 2032 second round pick swap. So it seems like it's the same pick. Whoever, finishes worse out of the two, that team will get the pick. So, but Eric Gordon, long time in the league, guys, kind of long in the tooth, but Memphis takes him. So I'm not sure what Memphis is doing right now. Yeah, not sure at all. So there you go. But let us continue. A 3-team deal. The Milwaukee Bucks, they get Nigel Hayes-Davis along with Ousmane Dieng, who just got traded the day before. So now he's on the move, guys. He actually was with Chicago. Now he goes to Milwaukee. And then Phoenix is involved in this also. They get Cole Anthony along with Amir Coffey. Now, Cole Anthony, he was with Milwaukee, but somehow, some way, things didn't work out. And now he's with the Phoenix Suns, who actually could use him, actually. So, yeah, they needed some guard help. So, and then you get a veteran like a Amir Coffey forward there. And then Chicago gets Nick Richards, a center who they desperately need because you sent Nikola Vucevic to Boston. You didn't really get a big in return for that. So Nick Richards is a guy who, given time, he can produce. So will they give him a starting role over there? I don't see why not. Who else you gonna put at center? So there you go. All right. And then this move, this is the move I was talking about, guys. Now, the Knicks acquired themselves Dellen Terry, right? They take Dellen Terry along with 2 second rounders and cash considerations and send that to New Orleans for Jose Alvarado. An absolute steal, guys. Jose Alvarado, known as Grand Theft Alvarado, you hear me talk about him like that, is now a New York Knick, man. I mean, and he fits the culture. He fits the culture of what the Knicks are trying to do. He's a New York guy, straight out of Brooklyn, I believe. So Alvarado, a Puerto Rican descent, a guy who's New York through and through, guys. And he comes home to the Garden. And I can't wait to hear the introductions tomorrow where he comes into the game. I know the Knicks fans are just going to shower down on him. You get a local guy coming home. It's a beautiful thing. And so far, so good. So Jose Alvarado, somebody that the Knicks were targeting, guys. There was a few guys that they had on their radar. It was him. Dusamu was another guy. But they get the man, Jose Alvarado. And I think he'll be a seamless fit, especially with the news that we just received about Deuce McBride. He has the muscle core injury that's going to probably keep him out of the regular season. As far as postseason, we'll see what happens. They'll reevaluate. But to get a guy like Alvarado to hold the fort until McBride is ready is an absolute heist, guys. So there you go. All right, guys. So let us continue. Brooklyn Nets. They were somewhat busy. They get Hunter Tyson, guys. Hunter Tyson in a 2032 second round pick. And they make this trade with Denver. So they make another trade with Denver. Go figure. And Denver, they get a 2026 second round pick. And it's the lease from the Clippers or the Atlanta Hawks. So Brooklyn, they just filling in bodies over there. That's pretty much the deal. So there you go there. All right, guys, let us continue. Now, this is the one that actually threw me for a loop, guys. The LA Clippers, I guess they're throwing in the towel, guys. They deal Ivica Zubac, guys, their center. Deal him along with Kobe Brown to the Indiana Pacers. In return, the Clippers get Ben Mathurin, who, he's a guy who can fill it up. As far as giving you other things, not so much, but he can score, guys. And Isaiah Jackson. So they get themselves a big in return. Also, they get a 2026 first round pick that's protected, and here's how it's protected 1 through 4, and then 10 through 30. So this gives you a small window of 5 through 9, which, it's possible they can fall in that, or they can, yeah. So it's quite possible for this pick to translate. We'll see what happens, but there's that. But also a 2029 first round pick, unprotected, so no need to worry about that. And then a 2029 second round pick. No, a second round pick, and it's to be announced. So we don't know the year on that. So there you go. But Ivica Zubac, somebody that the Pacers sorely needed. They were hurting at center, guys. So you get a guy like Zubac. He's a double-double guy. In fact, he's among the league leaders in rebounds. So I think it'll be a seamless transition for him there. And I think he does well over here. I think he does. So Ivica Zubac, now an Indiana Pacer. Let us continue on. Dallas wasn't done, guys. Dallas, they end up getting Tyus Jones. I talk about Tyus Jones, how he could be a backup over there, but he goes to Dallas, guys. So Dallas gets Tyus Jones, and then Charlotte in return, they get Malachi Branham. So he's on the move again. He's been traded 3 times during the deadline. Wow. So he goes to Charlotte, guys, a guard who I guess could help them out, but jeez. Don't get your Airbnb. Don't buy their own out there. I'm just saying. So, and then Charlotte wasn't done. They acquired Xavier Tillman from Boston, and Boston in return got cash considerations. So there you go with that. But that's all the trades, guys. But I did want to circle back to the Bulls and try to figure out, what are they doing? What are they doing? You already had Josh Giddey. You had Trey Jones before you started moving all these guards. Now you have that you just acquired Anthony Simons, Colin Sexton. To me, they're both the same guys. It's just that Simons is younger and he's healthier. Rob Dillingham, who was washed out in Minnesota. He's supposed to be the point guard, heir apparent to Mike Conley, and it worked out. So I guess new scenery. Maybe he'll show better. And then Jaden Ivey that you picked up. Another shooting guard. So you got 3 shooting guards here. Simon, Sexton, Ivy. And you got 3 point guards. Giddy, who's actually hurt right now. So you Giddy, Dillingham, and Trey Jones. So I'm just trying to figure out what are they doing? What is Chicago doing? You know, they're a perennial bottom of the play-in team. So I guess their mindset is, if that's the case, we might as well do it up. So there you go with that. But hey, what can you do? All right, so that is your trade recap. Boy, we ain't got much time, so I will run through quickly the All-Star weekend. Now, in terms of the Sunday game, I gave you the rosters before. Slight change to one of the rosters. Actually, it looks like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won't be playing that Sunday, so they replace him with Alperen Sengun. So now you still have the 8 guys. You have Avaja, you got Luka Doncic, and we got to take a look at the Luka situation because he's dealing with an injury. The Joker, Jamal Murray, Pascal Siakam, Karl Anthony Towns, Victor Wembanyama, and then you have Sengun. So you have your 8 guys. So there you go with that. And then we gotta watch the Steph Curry situation too and see, you know, he has the injury as well. But on Friday, you know, they have the celebrity game first. I don't cover the celebrity game because it's a bunch of foolishness. Nobody's taking it serious. And this year, no WNBA players on either roster. Wow. So that's even more reason for me not to cover it, but I digress. Anyway, so after that, it Stars game. These are the rosters, guys. For Team Melo, Stephon Castle of the San Antonio Spurs, Donovan Klingman of the Portland Trailblazers, Jeremy Fears of the New Orleans Pelicans, Cooper Flagg, Dallas Mavericks, Dylan Harper, San Antonio Spurs. So you got 2 Spurs on there. Colin Murray Boyles for the Toronto Raptors, and Reed Shepherd of the Houston Rockets. So that's Team Melo. Team Vince, Matas Bucelis of the Chicago Bulls, Cedric Howard, who's been playing well, the rookie, for the Memphis Grizzlies, Edgar Demon of the Brooklyn Nets, VJ Edgecombe, I talked about him, for the Philadelphia 76ers, Kayshawn George of the Washington Wizards, Derek Queen of the New Orleans Pelicans, and then Jalen Wells, who was amongst the final guys as far as the Rookie of the Year last year of the Memphis Grizzlies. So 2 Grizzlies on that squad. So there you go there. Team McGrady has Trey Johnson of the Washington Wizards, Knueppel of the Charlotte Hornets, AJ Mitchell of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Alex Sarr, the big out of Washington. So you got 2 Washington guys there. Cam Spencer of the Memphis Grizzlies, Jalen Tyson, who's playing well for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Kel'el Ware of the Miami Heat. So those are your sophomores and freshmen. And then Team Austin, he has all G Leaguers, guys. Sean East II, Ron Harper Jr., David Jones Garcia, Yannick Conan, Niederheiser, Elijah Martin, Tristan Newton, Yang Hansen, and actually David Jones Garcia won't be able to play. So filling his place, of course, Matt McClung. So he'll be a part of the weekend, but only in the Rising Stars. So there you go there. All right, so that is, and then they do the round robin, kind of like what the NBA is going to do with the U.S. U.S. team versus the world, all of that. So I believe they got the idea from Rising Stars. But what do I know? And then Saturday, you have the 3 contests, the Shooting Stars, where they're using 2 current players and then 1 former player. That's the skills competition, basically. Team All-Star features Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors, Chet Holmgren of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and their veteran's going to be Rip Hamilton. So that'll be Team All-Star. Team Cameron meaning Cameron Indoor Stadium. Of course, these are players with Duke affiliation. Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks and Knueppel of the Charlotte Hornets. So Knueppel having double duty, guys. In fact, we'll have triple duty, as I'll talk about in a minute. And then their veteran is Corey Maggette. I was like, oh, I guess Grant Hill wasn't available, but Grant Hill, I don't think he's able to play, about his injury history. So anyway, so that's Team Cameron. Team Harper. So this is Harper meaning Ron Harper, the former player who's, won multi-championships, guys. He has 2 sons, and they'll be playing with him in this skills challenge. Dylan from the San Antonio Spurs, I just talked about him, and Ron Jr., who is on Team Austin with the G Leaguers. So both of those guys along with their father. And then Team Knicks is the final one. Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and their veteran is Allen Houston. Oh, I know, Allen, you still working out and get yourself right. So we'll see what happens. But that's the participants in that challenge there. Then we have the 3-point contest. I'm a believer that the 3-point contest should be moved for the later event. I think that's overtaking the dunk contest in my eyes. So anyhow, these are the participants. Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns, Knueppel, remember I mentioned he's in 3 events. This is the 3rd one. Damian Lillard. I saw this. I fell out of my chair, guys, for the Portland Trailblazers. He hasn't played this season, guys. So he's a participant. Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers. Donovan Mitchell, seemed like he's in it every year for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jamal Murray for the Denver Nuggets, who's shooting it well from 3. Bobby Portis of the Milwaukee Bucks. He's actually shooting it the best out of all these guys at 45, a little over 45%. Wow, I couldn't believe that when I looked it up. And then Norman Powell of the Miami Heat. But I'm going to say something, guys. I'm going to say something. What are we doing? Damian Lillard, what are we doing, guys? The guy hasn't played all season. You're trying to tell me you couldn't pick a James Harden, who, well, he would have been a local favorite until he got traded. But he's a guy, you could have picked for this contest. Anthony Edwards, you could have picked him. He shoots a lot of threes. Michael Porter Jr., who's having a fabulous season from 3. Trey Murphy III, another guy you could have picked. And then you have Duncan Robinson for the Detroit Pistons, who's shooting it very well from 3 and is having a renaissance season with the Pistons. You couldn't pick none of these guys. You pick a Damian Lillard? Really? Really? I mean, and you can make a case for them picking Devin Booker. He's shooting it not even 31% from 3. So if it were me, I wouldn't have picked Booker. I definitely wouldn't have picked Damian Lillard. I'd have took Any one of those guys I named there, I would have had no issue with. But this is not good. Yeah, so to me, that taints the 3-point contest. But what do I know? So that's that. And then the last one, the dunk contest. A lot of people are up in arms. I'll read you the names. Carter Bryant of the San Antonio Spurs. Jackson Hayes of the LA Lakers. Keshad Johnson of the Miami Heat. And then Jase Richardson of the Orlando Magic. Now, I've seen people already blowing up saying, who are these guys? Now, Jase Richardson, I grant you, his father has won this contest. In fact, he's won it twice. Jason Richardson. So if you want to put him in, I have no issue with him. Jaxson Hayes, he's a rotation player, you want to put him in as a big? I have no issue with that. Carter Bryant, Keshad Johnson, what are we doing? But again, this comes around to guys don't want to compete in the dunk contest. And a lot of people blame LeBron for this. I mean, he has not participated. No, he hasn't. So, guys seem to follow his lead and they don't do it. But remember, we've had bench guys win this contest before. So it's not like it's the first time. We had Obi Toppin of my New York Knicks. Jeremy Evans, a guy at the end of the bench for Utah. Desmond Mason of Seattle Supersonics. I remember him. Fred Jones, I believe he was with the Indiana Pacers. Gerald Green, when he was a Boston Celtic, he was a guy, coming off the bench. Glenn Robinson III, this round when he was a rookie. Zach LaVine, he's a guy who's won it twice. Wasn't a starter, guys. He wasn't a starter. And then Donovan Mitchell won it. Now, that's the closest you have to a guy with star caliber. But the thing was, he was a rookie. So, but you mean you couldn't pick a Dylan Harper? You couldn't pick a Shaedon Sharpe? I mean, come on. Give the people something. If you put a Shaedon Sharpe in there, I don't think the outcry will be that great because people know he's a guy on the come up. A Dylan Harper is a guy who, he's a rookie, but why not? He's got it in his blood. His father's Ron Harper, for crying out loud. A guy who's participated in this contest. So what in the world? This is why people say, "Oh, eliminate the dunk contest," because you can't get guys to participate. It's crazy. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys, but this doesn't fly. So there you go. So all right. So that is it. I talked about the Sunday game, and the only change being Alperen Sengun. So everything else is status quo. So all right, guys. Thank you for listening. As always, all things basketball with GD.com is the website. There you can find my clips, my full episodes. Also, guys, my YouTube page, I got that running. Also on my website, my donate buttons, PayPal, buy me a coffee, Spotify donate. And in the scroll, you'll find my Cash App, $GD, that sports stew, $GD, that sports stew. Email the show at all things basketball GD at outlook.com. And also, guys, all the podcast platforms, I'm on them. Give 5-star reviews, likes, all the things. And lastly, social media, Blue Sky, some of the time, Facebook, some of the time, more of TikTok and more of Instagram as far as that goes. Guys, when I come back to you, I'll give you my week 16 recap. All right, guys. So I thank you for listening as always. Deuces.